Good morning. Today we are continuing to work with that coordinate plane and graphing. And like I said when we were correcting, we are doing something new. So the last objective was something that we already knew, it was review. Now we're using that information to work on something new. So we are going to be looking at lines on a coordinate plane and finding the slope of the line. So in order to do that, we need to know what slope means. So a slope, oh, is my board gonna work? Nope. All right, so we're gonna shift. Lexi, I need the extra one. So we're shifting over to this. Is there somebody absent? Who did not get the note sheet that needs it? Sophie. Sophie. All right, so we're going to do it this way. So, first thing we want to know is how a line moves across the coordinate plane is the slope. So that's what we need to write, what the slope is. So when we're looking at our lines, how it's moving across that plane. Is it going up? Is it going down? That straight line continues to go on and on and on. We need to know where it's going to be headed to next. So that slope is how it's moving. We're going to continue that line, how it would move across that coordinate plane. There are different ways we can find that, not different ways, different words. It's one way to find the slope. There are different words we use to find it. So, our first way we're going to write it is as the vertical change over the horizontal change. So vertical is going up and down. Horizontal is going over to the right. So we need to, in order to find that slope, you need to have 2 points on the coordinate plane. And we start, because we always read from left to right, we start on the left side, the point that's on the farthest left, and we go up or down to where the next point is on that order pair. We count how many moves, how many lines up or how many lines down. Then on the bottom, it's the horizontal change. Horizontal means we are going across. So if we're starting at the left point, we count how many across to get to the second point. And I'll be showing us how this works. So one way of thinking of it as that vertical change up and down, the horizontal change over to the right. Vertical up and down always goes on top. That horizontal always goes on bottom. Another way to word it is the change in Y. Remember, that's that vertical going up and down. That's the Y axis, goes up and down. So that change in Y, how many up or how many down, and then that's over the change in X. X is horizontal, the line that goes across. Now the mathy way, math words to use would be rise over run. Rise goes up or down. The run goes to the right. And if we are going up, our slope is going to be positive. Think about a thermometer. You're going up into those positive numbers. If our second point makes us go down, it's going to be negative. So think about that thermometer. When you go down on that thermometer, like we have been this week, going down with those wind chills, it goes into those negative numbers. So if from point A to point B we go up, it's going to be a positive slope. If from point A to point B we go down, it's going to be a negative slope. So let's look at what that means. We're always going to read, well, first, when we plot the two given ordered pairs, we know how to plot. We did that on the last objective. When you plot your two dots, you're going to connect them with a straight line. We don't have to get our ruler out, but we are going to do our best. But we're going to keep in mind that when we are drawing the line, it's not going to be perfect, because we're not perfect when we draw. That's why we need to do the math to find the slope. We can't guess and say, well, it looks like it's this. We have to do the math. So our first 2 points that we're going to plot is -4, 2. So we go out to that -4 up to the +2. So that's our first plot. Then we have -3, +5. So you're plotting your 2 points. -4, 2. So we go over to -4 up to the +2. And then -3, +5. Second thing you do is you draw your line. It is a line, so we're going to put arrows on the end because that line is going to continue, right? So we want to put arrows on the end. Alyssa, are you paying attention? Then, so our first step is plotting. Second step is drawing the line. Third step is to find the slope. Remember that when we read, we go from left to right. So that means we always start with our point that's on the left. We always do the top over the bottom, so the rise over the run. So am I going up or am I going down from my first point to get to my second point? Lila? Up. So if I'm going up, remember that slope is going to be positive. So I know it's a positive slope. Because it's positive, we don't have to draw the positive sign because we know a 3 is a +3. We don't have to put that it's positive. We're going to go count how many up we're going till we get level with our second plot. So we've got 1, 2, 3 times going up. So we put a 3 on the rise. So the 3 at the top of the fraction. Then we draw that fraction bar. Now we need our run. The run always goes from left to right. So I'm right here. I'm going to count how many over I have to go to get to my next plot. I go over 1, so I put a 1 on the bottom. So this is my slope, 3 over 1. So now we're going to try it again on this middle one. And I want you to try it yourself. And then we're going to see how we did. So the first step, so step 1 is to plot the points. So plot your 2 points. Then step 2 is draw your line. And step 3 is to find the slope. So your first step is to plot 1, 6 and 5, 3. You draw that line connecting them, remembering that the line has arrows on the ends because it keeps on going. And then we're going to see if we can figure out what the slope is. The rise over the run. How many up or down do we go? And how many to the right do we go? So 1, 6, our first plot should be, our points should be right here. And then we have 5, 3. Our next point is right here. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you plotted it correctly. So we have our 2 points. We're going to connect it with a line. That's step 2. Now step 3 says find that slope. I know I'm going to have a fraction bar. On the top, I need to put what that rise is. How many up or how many down? Remembering if I'm going up, it is positive. If I'm going down, I have to put that negative sign. So if we are going down from one point to the next, you have to put the negative sign or it's going to be wrong. That negative tells us our line goes down. So I read left to right, so I always start on the left side. And my second point goes down, so I know I should put a negative sign. So I'm going to do that right away so I don't forget it. That is the most common mistake that students make. They forget their negative sign when we go down. So anytime you see that line going down, you put your negative sign for your slope. Let's see how many down we go. Who can tell me? What do you think the slope is, Lila? Let's check and see. 1, 2, 3. Yep, we go down 3. And notice how I'm actually drawing my line. I do that to help me with my counting. Because when I stare at this graph, sometimes it all blurs in my eye. It's a lot of lines. So I actually count as I draw. So I count correctly. That's the second most common mistake that students make, is they just look at it and try counting while they're looking at it and they count incorrectly. So we went down 1, 2, 3. Now I keep my marker here and I go over to the right. So this right here is at 0. I go 1 line, 2 lines, 3 lines, 4 lines. So I went over 1, 2, 3, 4. So my slope is negative 3/4. How many of you got negative 3/4? Ooh, good number of us are already getting on track. Let's try the next one together. Plot your points. Draw your line with your arrows, because that line keeps on going. It's not a segment. And then see if you can figure out the slope. While you're plotting points, I'm going to plot points. So your points should be at -3, -3, and at 1, 5 up here. I'm looking at my line and I'm seeing going from left to right. I'm going up, so I know my slope is going to be positive because it's going up. Now I'm going to count how many up. So I start with that rise. You always start on the left, and you always start with the rise. So I go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I went up 8. And I go over 1, 2, 3, 4. So I look at that slope of 8/4. And I'm going to reflect back on previous objectives. When we look at, well, these slopes look like a fraction. When we look at that fraction, what do you think I have to do, Adeline? Simplify. So when you have a slope that you can simplify, you have to simplify it. What can I divide out of 8 and 4? Sophie. I can divide a 2 out. 8 divided by 2 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Am I done? Oh, I heard somebody say no. Who said no up front here? Kellen, was that you that said no? Why am I not done, Kellen? I can divide out another 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Am I done now? Bennett? What? Yeah, I can't divide anything else out of that 2 and that 1. So I'm going to circle my final answer. We are going to practice 3 more when we come back from that art time. And then the second page is all homework. I'm not going to have a recording for those bottom 3. So when we do the answers tomorrow, we will go over those. So make sure that if you're watching at home that you finish the bottom 3 and then do the second page, which is a lot more of the same and some review. If you are watching at home, I hope you are well and I hope to see you soon. Have a wonderful day.